Good Tuesday morning. Delighted to be with you, talking to you about you and your business. We got a lot to talk about on today's program. A lot of stuff on business itself. You know, this show I can do whatever I want on this program, but, I talk about business sometimes, politics sometimes only about business, sometimes only about politics. Today, though, big emphasis on business, although we'll cover a couple of other topics along the way. First segment, though, I'm really interested in the challenges that business owners have out there in reaching CEOs in this trying economy. I've got Tom McGraw. He is Chief Executive Officer with the First National Bank of Northern California, and he's got an interesting story. Delighted to bring him on the program. And Tom, welcome to the show. Real quickly, tell us a little bit about your bank.
Sure, Kevin. Thanks for the opportunity. We're a 50-year-old community bank headquartered in South San Francisco. We have 15 branches throughout the San Mateo Peninsula and in San Francisco, and we also have about $900 million in footings. So we're sort of below the radar as far as large banks or medium-sized banks are concerned. We're pretty much a small community bank, sort of old-fashioned in our way of doing business.
Big on relationship.
You betcha.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you would say is unique in your bank's approach in reaching people and developing those relationships that are so hard to develop because of all the distractions and the disruptions that business owners have today.
Well, you're absolutely right, and particularly for a bank, because most of us bankers walk around with a bullseye on our back because of what happened in the recent recession. But what we've been able to do is establish relationships. We're not a transactional bank. If somebody calls me and says, "What's your best rate?" I tell them, you're probably not talking to the right bank, because what we're looking at is the value in a relationship between ourselves and the consumer. We don't do much advertising. The best advertising we get is word of mouth. I put my direct phone number and my direct email address on our homepage on the website, so that if people want to contact me directly, they can feel free to do so. If they have a complaint, if they want to yell and scream, if they want to tell us that we're doing a good job, it's really important, I think, for any business owner, whether it be a bank or a hardware store or a medical practice, to be accessible to your customers, because if you lose that accessibility, you really lose that connection. And once that happens, any real commitment to customer service, any real commitment to the community evaporates.
Yeah. Okay. So, by the way, do you have your cell phone number on your business card?
I do indeed.
Yeah,
I have my cell phone number there. In fact, a quick anecdotal story, sort of funny. Tim McGraw happens to be my cousin. He was out here doing a fundraiser for his dad's brain tumor foundation, the Tug McGraw Brain Tumor Foundation. I sit on the board of directors. My wife told me, "You got to turn your phone off tonight," and I did. So Monday morning, I come in, and on my cell phone, there's a message from 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning. A fellow who'd lost his debit card, and he used every term in the Teamster swear book, and it was at 3 in the morning. And I saved that because it's an indication of how I'm available 24 hours a day. Although I'm glad I missed that call, because my blood pressure would have gone through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah. This customer's always right. You got to be careful with that, or you'll find yourself being abused by that to a certain extent. In fact, Richard Branson said the customer's always right, except for when he's wrong.
Well, right. And I often say that the customer's right 100% of the time, even though they're usually wrong 70% of the time. And it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so by being sort of the last line of defense, if we're having a problem, if a customer's having a problem and they can't get it resolved, they can always call me. I can explain the policy. I can't guarantee them that they're always going to get what they want, but I'll give them the explanation as to why we do what we do and why we can't accommodate their particular need or interest. And I think there's a lot to be said when people hear the truth, when they hear it from a decision maker, that they may not agree with it, but at least they know that they've heard it from the top of the food chain.
Yeah, Tom McGraw, he's Chief Executive Officer of First National Bank of Northern California, talking about what he's doing in order to get the attention of clients and working with them in this challenging economy. What percentage of your clients are businesses versus individuals?
Yeah, good question, Kevin. About 85% of our bank now is commercial, whereas when we first started back in 1963, we were probably 85% consumer. We have about 15% of our business is is consumer related, but commercial is really the heart and soul of what we do now. Our sweet spot is for businesses that have earnings anywhere between $3 to $18 to $20 million, but we still try to keep that individual connection with each of our customers, whether it's a consumer who has an account with $100 balance, or if it's a large business that carries $6 million with us. Now, obviously, you're going to spend a little more time with a person who's got $6 million, but I think if you ever lose sight of the fact that every single customer that walks through the door is a valued customer, regardless of how much money they're bringing in or spending or whatever, I think you begin to really become a little more cynical in terms of how you approach it. So one of my jobs as the chief cheerleader is to remind our employees regularly that, again, if it's somebody who's got a $25 savings account or a $25 million business, they have to be treated in the same fashion.
Again, talking to Tom McGraw, talking about what's going on in that bank there that he's the CEO of there in Northern California. And how long have you been with the bank?
I've been with the bank since 1988, Kevin, so I'm just about out of my probationary period.
There you go. And I'm assuming of your businesses, the majority of those are small to medium businesses, or kind of talk a little bit about that profile.
Yeah, we do a lot of small business lending, and the interesting thing is that there's a great deal of competition now because, as you know, due to the recent recession, a lot of the big deals that the large banks had, the $500 to $750 million deals, have evaporated. So they have rebranded themselves as the small business lending specialists.
Right.
So we're going up against a lot of the big institutions now who are offering rates in the high twos. Well, it costs us 3.8% just to open the doors in the morning. So we cannot really compete with the large banks. But again, what we stress is that because of the relationships that we have, you may pay a little bit more, but if you run into trouble, if you have a problem that pops up, we'll work with you. The large banks, if you have a problem, the minute you fall outside the guidelines that they've set, all bets are off. They completely change their tune. So,
yeah.
Granted, you can get a lower interest rate, but if something goes wrong, don't let the door hit you in the fanny on the way out.
Yeah, and the layers in the decision-making process in a bank like yours versus, what I call Department of Motor Vehicle banks like Bank of America is so narrow. I mean, usually any of your tactical loan officers are 2 levels away from you versus what takes place in the major mega banks out there. Tom McGraw, thanks for being with us. Great story. What is your website out there?
It's www.F as in Frank, N as in Nancy, B as in boy, N as in Nancy, ORCAL.com.
All right. Thanks so much for being with us.
All right. My pleasure, Kevin.
You
Take
bet.
care.
All right. When we come back, we're going to have much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at our sister news website, usdailyreview.com. Keep an eye on it because great changes coming every day over there at usdailyreview.com.